Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 7, the son of Drona Punished, text number 6 onwards. Anarthopshamam sakshat bhakti yoga madhokshaje lokasya janato vidvan chakre sattvat samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, means living entity because it is spiritual. Like last verse, we understood that he is spiritual, but when he comes in contact with the material nature, he thinks he is part of this material nature. He is made of this material nature. So so the living entity is superfluous, means he is not bound by these material miseries, and these miseries can be directly mitigated by linking process of devotional service. Only by yoga or devotional service he can remove this, or bhakti yoga he can remove this material miseries. So the Bhagavatam says mass of people do not know this, generally people do not, and therefore learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature just to tell them this linking process of devotional service. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw therefore his different energies, namely the internal energy, marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also, and he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who were bewildered by the external energy. Means these miseries, actually they don't belong to the living entity. They're superfluous, they're external, they are just there because we think I'm this body. We are made up of these three modes. Because spirit soul is what? It's made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So it is supposed to be in bliss. It is should to have all the knowledge and eternality. But when we are in the bodily concept of life, we think, oh, I'm going to leave, I'm going to die. Well, first of all, soul never dies. Or we cry because of ignorance. We are in misery because of ignorance. But the soul is not in ignorance. Soul is full of knowledge. We have forgotten that knowledge, and then we are supposed to be in full bliss, but we get miserable because we think we are this body. So that's Prabhupada writing. He specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. It's also only because of Maya we get bewildered, and we get into this miserable situation of life. And at last, he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotion service. So Vyasadeva saw all that. Even it is said that he saw the Supreme Lord. He seeing the Supreme Lord means he saw everything. He saw uh, his part and parcels, his different energies, how the living entities are suffering, and how to get out of this suffering. It's a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the Okay, one wonderful statement Prabhupada is writing. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. So it doesn't depend that we are going to achieve the perfection of life, that love of God that we are going to achieve by a mechanical system of hearing and chanting. Definitely, it will not happen with that. But it will happen, it will wholly and solely depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. So we have to keep on putting our sincere efforts. So then, if he's fully satisfied, he may endow us with his loving transcendental service. He may, and he may not also. It all depends on his mercy. And Prabhupada, look at the word he uses. It depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. Why causeless mercy? We can say, oh, I'm doing the devotional service. So where is the causeless come from? So causeless word actually comes from, suppose we go to a shop and we want to buy, suppose, an ice cream. We pay him whatever the money is for the ice cream, and he gives us the ice cream. Is that the causeless mercy of the shopkeeper that we got the ice cream? No, we paid him the money. But if we go to the shop and he gives us that ice cream free of cost, so that we'll say it's a causeless mercy because he was being merciful. So, but we'll say, so similarly, when we approach the Supreme Lord, the kind of devotional service that we perform, it's nothing when it is compared to the results or compared to the benedictions that Krishna gives us, his transcendental loving service. That is not purchasable. It's just like because we went to that shop, he gave us the ice cream. That's the only effort that we did is we went to that shop. Here also, we are trying to approach Krishna with our whatever devotion service we are trying to perform. This is just trying to go to him. It's not like we are paying for the devotion service. There is nothing we can do to pay because it is like if you look at the 6 qualities of devotion service, pure devotion service mentioned in introduction, the first quality is kleshaghni. That means all the kleshas can be removed or will be removed by devotion service. Shubhda, it is all auspicious. It's very rare. So there is no way we can pay for that devotion service. So that's why it's considered causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that He'll award us with loving service. And this loving service is very rare. Krishna gets attracted by that. Not only Krishna gets attracted, he gets bound up by the devotion service, by that bhakti. So it is a causeless mercy of the Lord only. It's not like we are doing anything. This is nothing that reading or the service, little bit service or little bit donation that we give. It's nothing. The devotion service, the bhakti, that love of Krishna, it is so rare and so valuable that not everybody can have it. So it's considered causeless mercy of the Lord. But this is Krishna. That he, just like I give the example, that if we go to the shop, he waits for us to come to the shop. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even more merciful. He just says, if you just have some faith, you can be sitting at home. If you just have some faith, I'll give you the mercy. I'll give you the devotional service. I'll give you love of Krishna. On top of it, Nityanand Prabhu, he is even more merciful. He even runs after the people who don't even want to come to the shop. He runs after them and gives them the ice cream. No, you take. I know you're. It's very hard. You'll be satisfied with the ice cream. So take it, take it, take it. He runs after them. So that is the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. And look at the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. He was even considered more merciful than Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu only gave the ice cream to the people of Bengal and Odisha. Prabhupada came and gave ice cream to people all over the world who had never even heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, or Bhakti, or Krishna, or Radharani, or anything. That is real mercy. So we should not think because I'm doing something, I'm chanting, or I'm trying to chant, or I'm struggling to chant, we will get mercy of Krishna. It's only causeless. It's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that we are even getting to read this book, so we're getting to even read, chant the holy names, or have the association of devotees. And that's why, and because of mercy of Prabhupada, we'll get the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and ultimately we'll get the mercy of Krishna. But Prabhupada does write that when the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee. So in our process of bhakti, we have to put in sincere efforts. That's all he wants to see. And that's all the spiritual master also wants to see. That we are sincerely endeavoring, sincerely trying to make progress. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. So there's a problem. Even with the prescribed forms of hearing jams, even when we do this hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. So going technically with the when we are studying nectar devotion, so 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. So first 2 are kleshagni and shubdha. Kleshagni means all the kleshas, material miseries, are completely eradicated. And shubdha, it's very auspicious. It brings all auspiciousness in our life. And that is the power of sadhana bhakti. The first part of sadhana bhakti is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and the second part is Raghunaga sadhana bhakti. So even when we start the Vaidhi sadhana bhaktis, Vaidhi means following the rules and regulations. When we perform the sadhana bhakti, these miseries go away. That's how powerful bhakti is. But when then somebody will say, I am still being miserable, the problem is that why my miseries are not going away. The problem is we are not even performing the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti right now. We are struggling to even perform that. That's why we are still in misery. Forget about pure devotion service. We forget about the ultimate effect of devotion service. It's the first stage we haven't even crossed yet. So we have to improve on our hearing and chanting service association. And these 4 things, if we can improve upon, we'll definitely not have the miseries. At least they won't affect us. Miseries will be there. Just like Ashok Prabhu also mentioned that our threshold will increase, or the miseries can also be mitigated. They can be removed by the mercy of Krishna. So this is what Vyasadeva saw, and that's why he wrote down this Srimad Bhagavatam. What will be the effect of bhakti? Text 7. Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne param purushe bhaktirutpadyate punsa shokumoho bhayapaha. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So, simply by giving oral reception means simply by hearing Vedic literature. So, this is so powerful, the Shrimad Bhagavatam. So, the feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna sprouts up at once. It just appears in our heart at once, and extinguishing the fire of shok, moh, bhaya, lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Purport. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense works even when a man is deep asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep, one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from three material pangs. So the bhakti, we say it starts with the tongue. Sevanokehi jivado swayameva sfuritiyada. It starts with the chanting, but even before chanting, it starts with hearing. That's the thing. Unless until we hear about the process of chanting or the glories of chanting or the glories of devotional service, our bhakti does not start. So the first thing is with hearing. Okay, it's a long purport again, so I'll not go over all the lines. So towards the end, Prabhupada is writing, until we reach the stage of re-establishing a lost relation with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as a self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Shri Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures. And there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experiences of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadvip, and Puri. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are practical tests for one who has actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So his all his miseries, illusion, and bhai, fearfulness will go away once he starts hearing properly this Srimad Bhagavatam. Sasamhitam Bhagavatim Kritvanukrumya Chatmajam Shukam Adhyapayamasa Nivriti Niratam Munihi. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught to his own son, Sri Shukdev Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, is meant for those who are already engaged in self-realization. So this is how powerful literature is. In the path of self-realization, simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramhansas or those who are totally engaged in self-realization. It works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men. So that is Bhagavatam. So it means it works on everybody. So like there was this verse we read in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam that Muhur ahurasika bhuvi bhavuka means even the rasika, even the highly exalted transcendentalist, they also relish Srimad Bhagavatam. They also taste the nectar that is contained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, what to speak of all of us? So, this is how sweet Bhagavatam is. So, we just have to just read it or hear it over and over again. Shukdev Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Srimad Bhagavatam. It's however certain from the text of Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as a king of Bharatvarsha, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scriptures and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Srimad Bhagavatam and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of the different Vedic literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is a science for following the path of Nivritti Marg. The path of Pravritti Marg was condemned by Narad. Okay, the Nivritti Marg is the path of renunciation. Pravritti Marg is the path of sense gratification. So some say even by following the path of sense gratification, one can ultimately reach Krishna because one will get frustrated and then he has to give up that path. But Narad Muni especially recommended this path of Nivritti Marg means give up sense gratification and engage yourself in the service of Krishna, and then you will attain Krishna. That path means Pravritti Marg is natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The theme of Srimad Bhagavatam is a cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. So that's the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's time 8:55. I'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी प्रवृत्ति मार्ग एक बार फिर से एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए, थोड़ा क्लियर नहीं हुआ। निवृत्ति और प्रवृत्ति अभी जो लास्ट में आपने बताया।
Pravritti Marg is
नेचुरल
getting into the natural inclination for all the conditioned souls. Means they want to enjoy. Means they
ओके
want to be engaged in sense gratification activities.
ओके
So some people say you follow that, like for example, Osho. If you listen to the philosophy of Osho, and basically he follows the philosophy of Charvak Muni. Charvak Muni also said the same thing. So that is Pravritti Marg. Nivritti is stay away from sense gratification and engage in the Pravritti Marg. People say if you follow sense gratification, ultimately you will get frustrated and then you will come on the path of bhakti. But as we discussed in Bhagavad Gita yesterday, I, I don't know if you were there or you listened to the class. It is very difficult because the senses, we have so many sanskaras, so many desires deep down in our heart. It's not possible or practical for each and everybody to give up. And Arjun also has the same question: why somebody commits sin even if it looks like he's doing it helplessly? So so because those the desires are deep down in our heart, they are there. So even while we are making progress on the path of bhakti, sometimes the desires come up, they sprung up, and they take over the mind or take over the intelligence, and they give the instruction. Okay, we fulfill the desire, but we come back to the path of bhakti and we carry on. That's all. Later on in Bhagavatam only it is mentioned on the path of bhakti, there is no such thing as prashchita, atonement. Only only
किसी को
prashchita
टाइम नहीं है,
we have
5 मिनट ही है.
only prashchita we have is okay, we recognize our fault and that's it, and we
सुभाष
get
भैया
back into.
एक मैंगो शेक फटाफट.
Is that okay?
Bit clear now. Thank you,
Thank you.
Guruji.
I guess we can stop here. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.